issue with rankings, but we'll get through that. I have Florida winning as well.
Yes. Welcome back to another episode of the JNJTakSports podcast. We have a very special one here for you today. We are discussing the NCAA tournaments. We're going to be going through our brackets. But before we get into that, I am Justin, quote unquote, Skywalker Palizzi. You can follow me on Twitter at easypalizzi_21. That's easy, POLIZZI_21. Make sure to follow our podcast page at JNJTakSports. Joining me this week, like every other week, taking it old school. Lyle, how's it going, buddy?
I'm doing well. Again, it's your boy, Lyle Style. We got a special edition, as he said. We're just going to talk about NCAA all day, every day, mainly today. And with us, as always, is Nick, Stefano, and your boy,
It's the most exciting time of the year. Woo. What's up, guys? How you doing?
Someone listen to my Lyle Goes Wild.
Oh, I always listen to you, baby cakes. But today we got a nice special NCAA tournament edition, or like we want to call it, it's Duke's Year edition. I'm sure Lyle Styles will agree with me later on, but we'll get those heated debates on later.
Absolutely not. I already knew he wasn't going to have Duke in his Final Four, so I'm not surprised.
Lyle's a hater. There's the thing about Lyle. He's a fraud and he's a hater. He just alternates on different weeks.
Is this true, Lyle?
I don't know. So, the hate that you guys send me is out of jealousy, so I forgive you. That's what we do.
They hate us because they ain't us.
Exactly.
Let's go ahead and dive right in. The first thing we want to discuss here tonight is the teams who got snubbed for this tournament. There wasn't quite that many snubs this year, I felt personally. Then in recent years, I felt like there was a handful at most. Nick, do you want to tell me one team that you felt really got snubbed at this year's tournament?
Yeah, so one team that I thought got snubbed, who I thought had a pretty good year this year, was UNC Greensboro. Unlike most teams that had opportunities to show quality wins with a better schedule, UNC Greensboro only had two opportunities against top 10 ranked opponents, which were on the road as well. They had a 6-point loss to LSU, 97-91, who is currently a third-ranked team in the tournament. And they pushed Kentucky to a very difficult game. Even though it ended up being a blowout later in the game, UNC Greensboro actually had the lead heading into the second half, despite Kentucky catching fire down the stretch. Those being two of their only 6 losses. The other losses being 3 to Wofford and 1 to Furman. So they only had 6 total losses on the year. It's just the lack of opportunity and the lack of noteworthy wins, in my opinion, is the reason why they were snubbed, which should change in the future because, honestly, a lot of teams get snubbed for the very same reason, the lack of opportunity and noteworthy wins. And I thought UNC Greensboro, they were tournament worthy among other teams.
Right, and I'm going to jump in and go ahead and agree with you because the team I was originally going to talk about who got snubbed is the team that Lyle's going to go ahead and talk about here next. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about Furman. Furman's basically in the same conference. They are in the same conference as UNC Greensboro. They were both 25-plus win teams, and because Wofford is the team that won the conference championship in that division, in that conference, that's the only reason why they went to the tournament. I think the committee, they look at these small-time conferences and think, okay, we only can afford one of these teams in the tournament. We can't afford to. Hence why UNC Greensboro didn't get in with 27 wins is what they had. So you're right, Nick. I agree with you. UNC Greensboro and Furman in the same conference, in the Southern Conference, basically suffer from the same thing. Lyle, you want to go ahead and talk about your team who you felt got snubbed?
Yeah, and again, I have NC State. They did it to themselves a little bit if
Agreed.
You look at how they scheduled them, because a lot of their out-of-conference games were, I think 8 of them were ranked 275th or lower in the net rankings, which replaced RPI. They had some quality wins, and looking at if you looked at their net, they're 33. They're ranked 33. They are a tournament team. They are a good team, But the committee, to their credit, took into account their easy schedule. But honestly, I still think that they are more worthy than a team here and a team there. I think they got snubbed. Again, they did it to themselves, but I still think that, they deserve to be in the tournament. They're a good enough team compared to some of the other teams that got in at large bids.
Oh, absolutely. And NC State, actually, they had a lot of good wins early in the season against teams like Clemson, Notre Dame, and Auburn. And then they even had really good losses. They lost to UNC by 8, and they lost to Virginia by 1. Those are two one-ranked teams. So you're right. Like, I felt like they did it to themselves, especially when they had losses against Wake Forest and Georgia Tech.
Yeah, when you go 99 in your own conference, they're really not going to give you much opportunity there.
The ACC is a very strong conference.
No, I agree.
So again, that's why I think they should be in there. I think it's a snub, but again, I'm not up in arms, pitchfork style, asking for heads, but it's a snub.
By the way, I really have to, crap on myself right now because well, let me rephrase that. Hold up. What does it say when you criticize yourself? Okay. I'll say the word shit. I was trying to avoid that. Okay. And I really have to say, I really shit the bed last week because, well, Nick, you too, we were debating whether or not Duke and North Carolina could both be 1 seeds going into the tournament.
And up picking 3 ACC teams.
And 3, exactly. They ended up picking 3 teams in the ACC, and we completely forgot.
Although it is the fact that Tennessee, if Tennessee would have lost a close game, gone to overtime, won their game, they got blown out. That was the reason why I believe they weren't a 1 seed. I believe they had the opportunity to be a 1 seed. It's because of how Tennessee ended their tournament. I feel like that's why they were dropped. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we're definitely going to talk about Tennessee a lot more later on. Lyle, actually, no. Okay. Issues with the rankings. Oh, okay. All right. Of course, every year when these rankings come out, when it's Selection Sunday, that the brackets, you put out your bracket, you're at work, not working, but instead doing research on what teams you want to pick to win these tournament games, you always have problems with these rankings, right? For instance, people were saying that Gonzaga shouldn't have been 1 because of the bad loss that they had in their conference play, but they're 1 and people have issues with it. Lyle, did you have any issues with some of the rankings that came out?
I have a couple, but the biggest one I'm going to touch upon, and I'm going to talk about this team a lot today. Michigan State should not be in as tough of a bracket. I think after beating Michigan 3 times this season, Michigan got the better draw by a mile. That's my biggest gripe. Outside of that, do I think Kentucky's a 2? No. Do I think Texas Tech should have gotten that 2? Possibly. They played amazing defense. Do I think LSU deserves a 3 or Purdue deserves a 3? No.
I wouldn't agree with Purdue.
But, I'm not pitchforking and up in arms outside of the placement of where Michigan State was put. I think they kind of got the short end of the stick being put in the East. But again, I'm not flailing my arms. I actually think the committee did an okay job this year.
Nick, what about you? Did you feel like one team was ranked outranked, or because of their ranking now, they're put in a tougher situation to move forward in the tournament?
I agree with what Lau said about Michigan State, but one team I've been hating on all year that I feel like has always let me down as far as betting wise or any other spectating wise was Nevada. Nevada is ranked 7th at the moment. Granted, they do have a good record, but they're in a very weak division, and there are some teams that I believe probably could have been ranked higher. I think even which they're playing Florida. I think Florida's a better team than they are. But honestly, I other than a couple snubs, I feel like they did a pretty good job with this with the ranking this year. I'm not really seeing anything out of place. I would say.
Yeah, aside from the one that Lyle touched on, a lot of these rankings are justified in my opinion. Now, there are some teams, like we said, that did get snubbed, and if those teams were to get in, I feel like these rankings would be a lot worse. So I have no problem with them as they stand. Round 1 has a lot of tough matchups, and there's quite a few. Like some for me, for instance, I thought the VCU UCF matchup wasn't going to be a hard one to predict. I also have on the other side of the bracket, I have Oregon versus Wisconsin, which is another tough game to predict. Lyle, was there a specific game that was the toughest for you to pick in round 1?
Yes, absolutely. There was a tough game. It'd have to be Oregon, Wisconsin.
Yep.
The reason why is Oregon, we know the loss of Bol,
Mm-hmm.
the freak of nature that he is, was a big loss, but they've had a pretty solid season. The Pac-12 has not been great. We all know this. But Wisconsin has not been great either. And if anybody can pull it out, I think it's Oregon. They play great defense. They play, when their offense is kicking and they're shooting the three ball as well as they can, nobody can stop them. But Wisconsin, again, they are another defensive team. They know how to play team ball. And you look at that again. I think it's a 5-12 matchup, and the gulf between the talent on the two teams should be larger. But I think this is a pick-up. This is a crapshoot, and I think this is a bracket buster.
Right. Nick, what about you? Is there a specific game that you felt was kind of tough? Well, much tougher to predict than the others?
I mean, this is tough because I have this game's equally correlated to who I think is gonna make a deep run.
Right.
I'll just foreshadow in. I think Murray State is a team that can make a deep run into the tournament. So going into a first round game, I feel like this Marquette and Murray State game could be it's like that. Also, like Lau said, it could be a pick'em game because they both have two very, very good players, in Marcus Howard and Ja. And honestly, if either of those, yeah, he's a very exciting player to watch. And I feel like if any of those players have an underwhelming game, and don't boost up the team around them, this is easily a pick'em game.
Right. Now, I actually wanted to talk a little bit about Buffalo, and I know Lyle's going to get into them a lot more later on, but we were discussing before the podcast, and I was saying how I feel Buffalo can be in trouble if Arizona State is the team that ultimately gets in as one of the last four teams in and versus Buffalo. They're versus St. John's in order to get to that final spot for the tournament. Lyle, are you afraid of either of these teams? Do you feel like no matter what, like for me personally, I feel like Arizona State matches up better against Buffalo, whereas St. John's, I can see them beating them.
Let me be clear. I think Buffalo matches up against St. John's, absolutely. Let me be clear. The coach for Arizona State used to coach Buffalo. He started bringing us two better games. We went far in the NIT. We got our first berth in many years, and then he dipped at the smell of success. Look where he is now, playing a play-in game, while Nate Oates and Massenberg and Perkins are just destroying this nation with their skills. Honestly, I think, especially Massenberg, take Hurley coming back at them personally, and we don't just beat ASU, we embarrass them. Just like we did Arizona last year. We embarrass them. I'm not scared of either of these teams, and we'll get into that a little bit later.
So I do want to ask you, if St. John's doesn't win the play-in game and ultimately officially be in the tournament to versus Buffalo in that first round, would you consider the first year under Chris Mullen a bust?
No, because this isn't necessarily his recruiting class yet. He still has to build up gravitas. He still has to build up his culture. He inherited a few players. I wouldn't call it a bust because, again, they got closer to the tournament. Again, they've been pretty terrible of late. I think it's not a grand success, but I think it's a good start.
Okay. So the team the game that I felt was the toughest for me to pick, and Nick touched up on them before. It's Nevada versus Florida, 11 versus 10. It was one of the toughest games for me to pick. I feel like Nevada, is that 11 versus 10? I mean, 7 versus 10?
They are 7 versus 10.
You said 11 versus 10.
I did say 11?
Yeah.
Okay. Alrighty.
Yep.
It's the 7 versus 10 matchup. They're coming out the West bracket. For me, the thing is Nevada, I was cheering for them last year when they made it to the Sweet 16, and they ended up losing or getting upset by UMBC. The thing with Nevada, with both brothers, Caleb and Cody Martin, between the both of them, they averaged 32 points and 10 rebounds. Then on Nevada as a whole on offense, they're 26 in efficiency and 33 efficiency on defense. They average 10.2 creation of turnovers per game, which is ranked 15th in the nation. The thing with Florida, and they have 10 less wins, right? Nevada has 29 wins. Florida's coming in with 19 wins. Florida plays plays a grinded out kind of offense where they rank 346th in the nation in offensive pace, but ranked 14th in defense because they limit the amount of possessions of other teams. If Florida is going to be able to do that and slow down the pace of the Nevada offense, I feel like Nevada is not going to be able to score the way that they're used to. But at the end of the day, Florida has shown this year that they lose to teams who just have superior talent than them. And I think Nevada ultimately has more talent than Florida. So in that matchup, I'm definitely taking Nevada, but that was one of the toughest matches for me to take in round one. Who did you guys end up taking?
Well, that leads me right into the next topic, which is which double-digit ranked team do you see making a second round run? I've got Florida because, yes, have they been great this year? No. Have they beat LSU twice? Yes. They can play. They know they can win against any team in this league, in my opinion. I think they do some work. I think we see them in the next round. Justin, which number double-digit team do you think makes a little bit of a run?
So the Florida one, like I said, for me, I did take Nevada, but it being one of the toughest matches for me to predict, the toughest matchup for me to predict in that first round, I could definitely see Florida making a run to the Sweet 16. Now, my double-seeded team that I feel like can make a 2-round run is Oregon. They're ranked 12th in the South Division. They actually got a very good draw for the first 2 rounds. They're matched up against number 5 Wisconsin, which Wisconsin is a pretty good team. They're no pushover for a 5. I think 5 is pretty much where they should have been ranked coming into the tournament. And then in the next round, they'll either verse between Kansas State or UC Irvine, which I think both those teams are beatable. Kansas State, I believe, was ranked a little bit higher than what they should have been. But then again, just like Wisconsin, just right around where they should be. Oregon is coming into the tournament with 8 straight wins. And not only with just 8 straight wins, but they won the Pac-12 tournament against the 1 seed Washington, who actually is ranked higher than them in the NCAA tournament. They rank 18th in defense efficiency and hold opponents to 29% from the 3-point range. The only person that Wisconsin has is Ethan Happ, who's a quote-unquote All-American. I don't think you're an All-American in college basketball if you shoot 45% from the free throw line. So if Wisconsin is relying on someone who scores 17 points per game, but your team has to take you off the court with 2 minutes left because you can't hit a free throw, you're now All-American. Oregon has more talent than Wisconsin. Not only is that going to probably be one of the only few upsets in the first round, when you look at the paper, when you look at the teams and you actually compare them, I don't think that's much of an upset. But that is my double-digit seed that I could see going 2 rounds.
All right, and I'd like to step in here and talk about the team that I have. I touched up on them a little bit earlier. I'm going to talk about the Murray State and Marquette game. I think Murray State has a very good chance here to upset the number 5 Marquette team as the number 12 seed. They have the electrifying player in Ja Morant, who leads Murray State by averaging a double-double per game with 24.6 points and 10 assists per game, while Shaq Buchanan is averaging about 13 points per game. They got Tevin Brown, who is chipping in with 11.7. Darnell Cowart is averaging 10.4 points per game and a team high 6.5 rebounds, which isn't anything spectacular. But again, you can see the even distribution of points with Ja Morant leading with obviously a higher total. Then you have Marcus Howard, who leads Marquette in scoring and assists with 25 and 4 per game, while Sam Hauser is second with only with 14.9. His brother Joey Hauser is slightly less. I think he's averaging about 10 or so. Sam Hauser is averaging about 7.1 rebounds per game. And going into the team averages, you have Murray State, who's averaging 83.3 points per game, almost 50% shooting from the field, 34.8 from behind the arc, 74% from the free throw lines, which is pretty good for a college team. And then going into Marquette, Marquette is averaging about 77.7 points per game, 46% from the field, 39.3 from behind the arc. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on, how Marquette shoots the 3-ball, and 76% from the free throw line, which is also very well for a college team. The thing is, in the last couple of games, in the last span for Marquette, in their last 6 games, they're 1-5. They lost to Villanova, Creighton, Seton Hall, Georgetown. They beat St. John's, but they dropped the ball against Seton Hall again. It's interesting to keep an eye on that, how that's going to play into them coming in cold to the tournament, going 1-6, 1-5 coming to the tournament. That's not something you're really looking forward to. But on the other hand, Murray State is coming to the tournament hot. They have just won the Ohio Valley Conference tournament, beating Belmont. The thing is, with only 2 players from Marquette averaging double-digit points, you don't know if they can outscore Murray State, who's averaging about 84 points a game. With John Morant, the exciting player that he is, putting up 25, 30 points a game, which let's see what he does in the tournament, because tournaments where players come alive. He's going to have to show up. The thing is, Marcus Howard's going to have to show up even more, because if Marcus Howard, I feel like, doesn't put up 30 or 40 points per game, they won't pass Murray State. They won't pass Florida State. They won't excel in the tournament. So look for Murray State. I believe that they can upset Marquette, the number 5 seed, and they can give Florida State a run for their money in the next round.
So I like Murray State a lot as a double-digit seeded team to go 2 rounds. The Florida State game is the one that's going to be really tough for me, and here's why. I actually have them beating Marquette in the first round, as you do, Nick, and I know Lyle does not have that. So Marquette is a very, very balanced team. Like, they're not the worst in defense. They're not the worst in offense. They're very above average. And, I mean, they play in one of the best conferences in all basketball. And in those last 6 games, Nick, that you stated that they were 1-5, they shot 34% from the 3-point range, which is 5% down from what they usually average. 34% is still freaking good to shoot from 3-point range. And if they went 1-5, shooting 34% from the field, that shows that they rely so heavily on that 3-point ball that even 2% of a difference from their average and everything can go off. And like you said, they're going to have to keep up with Murray State offensively. And if their 3-point shot is not falling to an extent of what their season average is, they may see themselves being bounced in the first round. But Lyle, why do you have Marquette over Murray State? As you know, Murray State is a big favorite upset of this tournament. Probably going to be the biggest upset picked, in my opinion, in the first round.
Upset watch, yeah.
I just don't believe in the Murray State hype. John's exciting. He's not as exciting as my boy John Rule.
He's a future Nick. He's a future Nick.
Oh, for sure. But I don't know. I don't think Murray State's as complete of a team. I think Marquette's better coached. And yes, their run into the games, Marquette's run in, it has not been great. But it's a whole new season. It's tournament time.
So aside from Florida beating Nevada, now that is technically an upset, but I don't really view that as an upset. I see both teams are pretty even. Do you have any other matchup in round 1, Lyle, that you feel like is upset potential if you don't already have an upset winning?
I mean, again, I have Oregon winning against Wisco. The other one I've been staring at a lot is, and I'm not sure if I'm going to pick it yet, but it's Ohio State versus Iowa State.
Oh, same here.
And like, don't get me wrong, Ohio State's been mediocre. Iowa State's not great. It's just, that's one of those games where you're like, things can happen. And I believe it's Iowa State that's missing their coach. Nick, could you come in and correct me on that?
I'm trying to figure it out as well, because that was one game. I can't. Let me look at the bracket real quick. Maybe it'll jog my memory.
Yeah. I don't know.
That was one game with a missing coach that the team can start an upset. It might have been. Let me see. Is it Auburn? Is Auburn missing their coach? Because I think New Mexico State was a possible upset as well.
No, Bruce Pro's there.
I have to look into this.
All right, so we're gonna cut off.
All right. Yeah. So, all right, ready? What do you guys think of? What do you guys think of Louisville? Now, they weren't in the conference. They weren't in the tournament last year because of all the coach's name.
Pitino.
Rick Pitino, so, because of all the Rick Pitino stuff that went on there. Obviously, he left the school. We have a new head coach in here. What do we see Louisville doing? Do we all have them advancing in the first round at least?
Again, this is another one where I'm like, because like Minnesota has been average. Louisville, they've had an okay season, all things considering. I don't have either of the teams moving beyond Michigan State anyway.
Yeah.
So this is one of those games I'm going to stare at for a minute and then close my eyes and just point.
All right. You just close your eyes, you throw a dart, and whichever team it lands on, you just rock with them.
Yeah, essentially.
We're going to go ahead and talk about our Elite Eight and Final Four teams. But before we do that, we have another edition of Lyle Goes Wild. Lyle, floor is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Lyle Goes Wild. And this Lyle Goes Wild is to a certain group of people in particular. The United States Senate, Congress, Executive Branch, and the Supreme Court. You'd be asking, Lyle, this is a sports podcast. Why would you ever talk about them in regards to the NCAA? Here is why. This Thursday and this Friday should be national holidays where everyone gets off of work. It is disgusting that they're making us work on these days. We should get paid vacation for these days simply because who's working? All I know is every single person is going to have 15 little tabs with all the games going on, and nothing's going to get done anyway. The United States government, do something for the people and make these bank holidays, make these national holidays, because they essentially already are. And this will, I'm trying to help all of you win re-election. So this will also raise your stature with the common person. Honestly, if I'm an embattled congressman or congresswoman, I go and create a bill that says the big dance is now a national holiday. They have my vote because, again, it is a sin to have us working these days because all we want to do is watch some basketball because, again, it's the most exciting tournament of the year. And if you're listening to this, Miss Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, if you're listening to this, Chucky Schumer, if you're listening to any of this, please, just do it. Do it for Justin, so he doesn't have to drive from Jersey into Brooklyn. Do it for Nick, so he can spend time with his mom and teach her basketball. Do it for Lyle, so he can sit in the corner with a bottle of whiskey and cry when his bracket goes to hell. Because I can't do that in the office, because that's how I get fired. So, United States congressmen, senators, executive branch, Supreme Court, the ball's in your court. Make us proud. And that is Lyle Goes Wild.
That was awesome. You know, it's funny. I think it was like about 4 years ago, or it might have been 3 years ago. Me and Nick entered like a big pool for an NCAA bracket tournament, and we actually cut class at Queens College to go watch the games. And we left all excited, 11 o'clock in the morning. We're like, oh, we're not going to go to class today. We want to go watch the first games. And we both had Ohio State going to like the Elite Eight.
And they lost the first game.
We went to Hookah, and they lost the first game of the tournament. They lost. And
our brackets busted first game.
Imagine if you were in like econ and that happened. Like
we were supposed to be in econ.
Probably.
You're gonna flip the table. Like, why not do it at a place you're accepted instead of in the middle of a classroom where you're gonna hit poor Matthew, who has no idea what happened.
Yeah, and part of the story was that was the day that me and Nick realized that it should be a national holiday the first day of the tournament because all you want to do is just watch it. That's all you want to do.
The first 2 days, Friday and Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, call your congressman, folks.
We're going to go ahead and move on to the teams that we have advancing to the Elite Eight. Lyle, who are the two teams you have advancing to the Elite Eight from the East bracket?
Coming from the East, standing at Zion Wilson, is Duke against Tom Izzo and Michigan State.
I have these same two teams. I think Duke is the best team in this conference. I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you guys, and I have them going to the finals. But Duke and Michigan State is the same two teams that I have coming out the East. Nick, what about you?
I agree. I think this is very clear cut. Duke and Michigan State are going to advance to the Elite Eight Final Four, and Duke to the Final Four.
Is it safe to say that Michigan State has a tougher path to the Elite Eight than Duke does?
I believe so. Again, LSU is down there, coach, but like look at the teams that Duke has to play. Either VCU or UCF. Okay, Mississippi State
or Liberty.
Maryland. Yeah, like nothing. None of these teams scare me. LSU could be scary.
Could be. This may make them rally more, if anything.
Minnesota plays Michigan State tough. That's a Big Ten team.
Well, okay. That's if LSU advances past the first round.
Yeah, again, like I think Michigan State has a tougher task, but these teams shouldn't have a problem getting to the Elite Eight.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and move to the West bracket. Nick, what were the two teams that you had advancing to the final? I mean, to the Elite Eight in the West bracket.
In my West bracket, in the Elite Eight, I have Gonzaga and Michigan. I think Gonzaga maybe has a tough time with Florida State, but I think they're close close to the Elite Eight from there. And I have Michigan playing Buffalo prior to the Elite Eight.
Wow, nice.
I mean, that's a biased pick. I think Texas Tech can give Buffalo a very difficult time, but I'm going with the New York team, passing Texas Tech into Michigan, but I think Michigan close past them.
Lau, before you even speak, I'll give you your
I haven't seen Lau, but I know he's about to go.
So I have Zaga and Michigan in the final, in the Elite Eight as well. I have Buffalo losing to Texas Tech. My reasoning, Lyle, the same thing that you said earlier. If anyone should be a 2 seed, Texas Tech was definitely in contention to being a 2 seed. And Texas Tech is a very good basketball team. When I put this bracket in, this is going to be my bracket for money. But my cheering, my little heart inside, the one that I want to win, I'm going to have Syracuse and Buffalo probably in the Elite Eight. I don't know. I might just do it because I want Syracuse. Like I said before in the chat, I'm going to bet the house that Syracuse beats Gonzaga because that money line is going to be crazy. And Zaga always struggles against zone defenses. So I do ultimately have Zaga advancing past Syracuse, but I will be cheering for Syracuse and I will be cheering for Buffalo. But I do have Texas Tech beating them, and then Michigan and Zaga coming out from that side. Lyle?
So the West is my insanity bracket. I have Marquette against Buffalo in the Elite Eight. Now you might be asking, Lyle, are you insane?
Is this your Wild Goes Wild segment? I thought you just did that already.
Short answer, yes, I'm absolutely insane. But long answer, I'm not that insane. Again, I think Marquette has one of the most well-rounded teams.
They
As
do.
you said, Gonzaga struggles. I do not see I don't see Gonzaga getting past Syracuse, to be quite frank. I see a Marquette-Syracuse Sweet 16, and I think Marquette's a better team. And let me just get to Buffalo. I think we pummel whoever comes out of that play-in game. I think we play Texas Tech hard. I think we got them beat because I do think our perimeter shooting will carry us in that game. We're going to need a phenomenal shooting job. Michigan's not that good. I think they're a little bit overrated. And honestly, that pick was an emotional pick. I can't even say it's a logical pick because I have a couple of friends. One of my best friends, I've known him since he was like 6, is a Michigan fan, and I just want to watch him cry. Like, how would you always want to watch your best friend?
Oh, that would be awesome. So it's you and Lee,
Lee, Eric, James, like the squad, and I want to watch them cry.
I mean, I saw Justin cry last week when OBJ got traded. I saw he was tearing up at the bar.
But I do think Buffalo is one of those mid-majors that can make a very nice run. They're bringing back their same team from last year, and between Massenberg and Perkins, we're a force. But I'm going to leave it at that because I'm sure we'll talk about it more. Let's move on to the South.
Buffalo. May I just say one thing about Buffalo? They're one upset away from possibly making the Final Four. Like, I mean, they're going to end up versus Texas Tech. But if they could get through Texas Tech and Michigan somehow gets upset, or vice versa, Texas Tech ends up getting upset and Buffalo goes to the Sweet 16 versus Michigan, they're just one upset away from making a good run. We're
talking about the Elite Eight right now. Just wait till I get to my Final Four.
Oh, we're gonna get there. So we're gonna go ahead and move. Yeah, we're gonna go to the South Division where Virginia.
Yeah, this is my normal. Well, it's a little bit more normal. I have in the South Tennessee against Nova.
Wow. Okay. And then
that doesn't work. I apologize. I have Tennessee against Kansas State. My apologies. I don't know why.
Well, Tennessee Nova does work because they can meet each other.
Sweet 16. Sorry,
Sweet 16. Yeah.
So I have Tennessee winning that, but I have Tennessee up against Kansas State. I think Virginia chokes yet again.
So you have Kansas State losing to Oregon in round 2?
No, I have Kansas State beating Oregon in round 2. Kansas State makes it to the Elite Eight.
Okay.
Yes.
But I thought you liked Oregon to be a second round team.
I do. I think they have the capability, but Kansas has the edge. It's one of those pick'em games for me.
Yeah.
But Kansas State makes it through.
Nick, what are the two teams you have coming out in the Elite Eight from the South bracket?
See, I believe that UVA does make it out, although I do have them playing against Wisconsin in the Sweet 16. But I have a UVA versus Tennessee. Honestly, my bracket going towards the Elite Eight, Final Four gets very boring because I do believe the top teams make it out.
Who do you have Virginia playing?
Tennessee.
Okay, yeah, I have that. I have Virginia versus Tennessee. I have Virginia beating Oregon in Sweet 16 and Villanova losing to Tennessee. That was a very hard game for me to pick because I personally love Villanova as a basketball team. I love watching them. They're one of my favorite college basketball teams to watch. But I do like Tennessee a lot in this tournament, and I just don't think Villanova has the talent that they did in recent years where they won the championship 2 out of 3 years. I just don't think this is going to be another year where they make a deep run. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and tell you my Midwest teams. No shocker. I have the 1 and the 2 seed. I have UNC versus Kentucky. Nick, what about you?
I have the same UNC versus Kentucky. I think they both make it pretty easily.
I have UNC against Houston.
So you have Houston making a good run. I like Houston. They actually have a really good offense. The only thing is if they struggle from 3-point range, just like the Houston Rockets, if they struggle from 3-point range, they won't go far.
I just don't have faith in Calipari, but that's just me.
So if I am not mistaken, Nick has – oh, wait, actually, no. Okay. We're going to go ahead and move on to the Final Four then. Lyle, what's the one team that you have coming out the East? Because I believe Nick and I have the same team.
The glorious team coming out of the East is none other than Tom Izzo's Michigan State.
What ultimately led you to that decision? Because I feel like Duke is the best team in the tournament. I like I said, I haven't really picked the winner yet. Maybe I'll just wing it here tonight and let you guys know who I think wins. But why do you have Michigan State beating Duke?
There's 2 reasons. One, the best team talent-wise hasn't won the tournament in a very long time. And 2, no team that shoots below 30% from the 3-point line has ever won the NCAA tournament. Duke cannot shoot the 3. You got a team it only takes one game, one hot game by a 3-point shooting team to decimate Duke. That's it.
Right. And one thing that was really appealing to me was the records against the top 25. Duke was 9-4 against top 25 teams, where Michigan State was 10-1. Now, I know it's really not fair to judge them both off of that because I feel like Duke plays in a tougher conference.
Well, also Duke has only lost 2 games with Zion Williamson against
in
general.
And one game was against a bad team, and the other team was against a UNC team. So
not a bad team. It was Syracuse. Their zone defense always gives Duke trouble, especially the fact that they can't
but they also lost to Wake Forest, if I'm not mistaken.
But they didn't have Zion, didn't they?
No, they didn't have Zion. That's what I'm saying.
With Zion, they've only lost 2 games.
That's still a team that they should have beaten, regardless if Zion played or not. But the reason why I feel like Duke and my team to advance to the Final Four is Duke is because without Zion, Duke is probably still a top 10 team in the country, and they probably will be a 2 or a 3 seed in this tournament, and people will still pick them to go to the Final Four, even as a 2 or 3 seed. We've done it before in the past. We're all guilty of that because Duke is Duke. The same way, we always give love to Michigan and Michigan State, and not just Michigan State because you picked them out, but they're a really good team. But like last year, or whenever they had Denzel Valentine, on the team, and they were like a 10 seed, people were picking Michigan State to go to the Final Four as a 10 seed because they were Michigan State. But with Zion on Duke, I think they're the best team. Hands down, he's the best player in college basketball on the best team. I can't see myself picking anybody else but Duke to come out from that side of the bracket. Nick, is it safe to say that you have Duke as well?
Yeah, I have the Duke Blue Devils, and it's because Duke has only lost 2 games with Zion Williamson has played a full game. They lost to a Gonzaga team who was a 1 seed this year, earlier in the year, and they lost to a Syracuse team who does play the zone defense very well, which poses a very difficult time for a team that can't shoot the 3 ball. Duke is probably the worst team at the 3 ball, and they're probably the worst in the whole tournament. Despite that, they do have the best player in college basketball in Zion Williamson. They also have the second best player in basketball, who's RJ Barrett, in addition to good play from Cam Reddish, who has been in a slump as of late. I think he's only shooting like 33% on the year, which is pretty bad.
Yeah, he's their 3-ball guy, so.
Yeah, he is a 3-ball guy. So, I mean, you take that from him because they do need the spreading of the court with a 3-point shot. Now, if you break it down, there are only a few teams that really have a chance to win this tournament, whether it be Kentucky, North Carolina, Virginia, Tennessee. who are all on the other side of the bracket. So they won't have to see any of them until the finals. Now, their really only challenge is going to come from Michigan State in the Elite Eight prior to Duke making it to the Final Four. In the ACC tournament, Zion Williamson went insane. He was averaging 27 points, 77% from the field goal range from the field. He's a freak athlete, and we all know him to be the best player in the nation. As long as he plays, Duke can beat anybody in the country. And that's really what it comes down to. As long as Zion Williamson plays healthy, a full game, they can beat anybody.
Hashtag tanking for Zion. Nick, who's the team that you have coming out the West into the Final Four?
Coming out of the West, I have Gonzaga. I have Gonzaga coming out to the Final Four.
Ew.
Go ahead, Lyle. Go ahead.
They're just so good offensively. They're just so good offensively. You can't.
Go ahead, Lyle. Tell us about your Buffaloes.
Ew, no, I want to tell you guys about Gonzaga. Ew. They performed in every tournament ever. Fine. I want to watch you guys put your faith because, Justin, I'm pretty sure you have the Gonzaga whatevers as well, the Terriers or whatever they want to call them.
I have my reasoning. Go ahead. Tell me about your Buffalo.
I want to hear more about Gonzaga before I crush your dreams.
Well, the fact that they have the best adjusted offensive scoring per 100 possessions and the second best adjusted defense per 100 possessions, I would say they're pretty much top 4 team in the country and probably match up better against any other team than Buffalo does. So just my opinion.
Well, your opinion's wrong. Gonzaga's going to disappoint.
Wrong.
You play in a farmers conference and you dominate every year. You get complacent, and then when you go up against the tough teams, you get rattled, which is what happens to Gonzaga literally every single year.
And I agree. I agree. But this year, I think this is the best team that Gonzaga has had in about the last 5 years, and they've been very, very good all year.
Yeah. Okay, but I disagree. As you know, I'm
losing early in their conference tournament. I feel like is going to just hunger them more to go further in this tournament.
Well, that's why I have Marquette beating them anyway, and it's going to be Marquette Buffalo over in the Elite Eight, and Buffalo is going to avenge their loss where Howard went off for like 40 points in the second half in a freak scoring gambit. I got Buffalo in the Final Four.
And this is with your heart, or is this with your head?
Well, more heart than head, but a little bit of my head's in there too.
Yeah, that's not much of there to use. So,
but yeah, we're one away from being close to the Final Four, as you said.
Yep.
And I think this team has played together for 2 years. The starters have been the same for 2 years. They know their jobs. The lights won't shake them. Even if we win the first round, we're not there just to be like, oh my God, we're blessed to be here.
Right.
No, we know we deserve to be here. We know we're here to perform.
Buffalo definitely has a tough road ahead of them to get to the Final Four, but I'm looking forward to see what they can do in the tournament. We're going to go ahead and move on to the South. I have Tennessee upsetting number 1 Virginia in the bracket to advance to the Final Four. Like I said before, Tennessee is one of my favorite teams in this tournament. They were ranked number 1 pretty much throughout the last 2 months of the season until a few bad losses that they had back at the beginning of March. So I feel like Tennessee is a team that could definitely make a run like this to the Final Four. Nick, who do you have coming out the South bracket? Mute. You're on mute.
You're mute. Try again.
I apologize. We're having technical difficulties. No, but I have Virginia versus Tennessee, and I have Virginia at the end coming out on top. Just 'cause I feel like they're a more consistent team. Their defense is very good. They know how to slow the pace of the game, and they have terrific 3-point shooting, which I think they're one of the best in the nation. So I think in the end, Virginia does come out on top.
I'm going to agree with Justin. It's going to be Tennessee. And Rocky Top. Let's get it. Want to move to the Midwest?
What about your Midwest?
I want to talk about the Midwest. I got UNC coming out of there because Coach Calipari is a choke artist. I think we all have UNC coming out of there.
Nope, I have Kentucky advancing into the Final Four because Coach Calipari does know how to coach, and he is the guy that took a whole freshman team to the championship. Remember that, sir. So don't you ever disrespect.
Did they win?
But they made it. Something that Buffalo's not going to do this year.
Did they win?
No, they didn't win. They didn't win. They lost to, I believe, UNC, actually, if I'm not mistaken, that year.
The show.
So Nick, you have Duke, Virginia, UNC, and Gonzaga. So that means you have 4 1
4-1
seeds.
seeds. Yeah, I told you,
4-1
it's very boring. But
Lyle, you have Michigan, Tennessee, Buffalo, and UNC. So you have a two seeds, 1 seed in UNC, and Buffalo, which is a 6 seed. I have Duke, Tennessee.
Clear, it's Michigan State, not Michigan. Just want to be clear.
Michigan State.
Buffalo is going to beat Michigan.
Correct. So you have Michigan State, yeah. All right, and I have Duke, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Gonzaga. What we all been waiting for, the 2 teams we have in the championship, and the team that we ultimately have on top, and why. Nick, you go first.
I'm having Duke, North Carolina rematch for the 4th time this year. Again, this is Zion Williamson's year. He's the best player in college basketball. He's a freak athlete. They have the number 1 and 2 player in the nation. I just think that it's Zion's year, and this is Duke's year.
So hashtag take it for Zion. Let's go Knicks.
So I have in the final. I know this is going to be a big shock to everyone in the audience.
Buffalo.
Not Buffalo. Not Buffalo. Michigan State against UNC. And I think UNC takes it. I think UNC has a little bit more talent. I think a little bit more depth. I think it's UNC going to take it again. And them's the facts.
I don't think UNC is that good of a team to make it to the finals. I feel like offensively they're limited. They rely on their big men a lot to score, and I just feel like they're lacking something. I feel like against the matchups against Duke, although the games were close, I felt like they were always being dominated. Except for the first 5 to 10 minutes of the last matchup that they had, I feel like Duke always dominates them. But my final is.
I understand what you're saying about UNC. They're not the best team, but they're always just good enough to squeak it out.
Yeah,
one of those teams that
kind of like Michigan State if you think about it.
It's all about the dub. Who do you have in your?
I have Duke versus Kentucky in my final, with Duke coming out on top. We have a classic matchup of Coach K versus Calipari. That's going to be I would think a great matchup between the two of them. I had the game going to 10 overtimes. It's going to be 152 to 151. Zion's going to have 80-something points and 30 boards. And then he's going to go number 1 overall to the Knicks. And we're going to win the championship within the next couple of years after that.
I really like what you did at the end there, because that's what I see happening with Zion. Either way, who's number 1 to the Knicks. He averages a quadruple double in points, rebounds, blocks, and steals. Did you see this too? Because I have a premonition.
Zion!
Again, I like you guys. You have big dreams.
In blue and orange.
You guys have big dreams.
But yeah, again, this is gonna be an exciting tournament. So one of us is more bold with their picks than the other two. I'm not gonna say who that person is, but he's probably a hero.
Bite me.
I actually probably have.
I'm realistic.
Upsets. I probably have more upsets than you, Lyle, or more bolder picks than you. Just because you have Buffalo advancing 1 round further. I have
upsets. I have upsets. I'm just realistic of who I think is going to advance all the way.
Well, we'll see who does the best between the 3 of us, and I guess we could put a Long Island bet on this.
Side bet, side bet on this.
To be fair, no. Before we get there, to be fair, I'm pretty sure I listened to last year's podcast where I'm pretty sure it was Nick who was like, Virginia's going to the Final Four.
They lost in the first round.
You know what the funny part was though? My brackets, both of them scored more points than either of you. Just saying. Lyle was almost dead last in my bracket.
Yeah, I remember.
Mr. Purdue winning the whole thing.
I had Buffalo last year.
You had one with your heart, and you had one realistically, and you had Purdue going all the way, and you lost, my friend.
Yeah, you did have Purdue going all the way.
When I had Buffalo going all the way for the record.
So
never forget.
Yeah, so make sure you guys follow us on Twitter and Instagram at JNJTakSports. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to our podcast on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes podcast app. I'm Justin Palizzi. You can follow me on Twitter at easypalizzi_21. Lyle, where can our wonderful listeners follow you?
And my name is Lyle, aka Lyle Style. You can follow me at LYLESSTYLE. Please make sure to call, email your senators and Congress people, because we really need the next 2 Thursday and Friday off, because it's absolutely ridiculous we don't have it. And Nick, where can the lovely ladies, men, and other people find you?
Everybody can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Stefano N. That's STEPHANOUN. And it's a good thing that at work we're having the office room booked all day. We're gonna have a TV in there. We're gonna have the games running. It's gonna be a
lucky you.
very good end of the week.
I'm gonna have to be streaming secretly in the corner of my desk.
I'm gonna be streaming very blatantly. And
Later.
religion.
This is fun.